Going to speak to who are we going to speak to?
I'm going to speak to
Karen Smith, and Karen Smith is the health minister on this. Karen, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Hiya. Karen, I know we've got some very good initiatives we're going to talk to you about that the government hope to introduce to reduce the waiting lists in the country. But first of all, could I ask you about Elon Musk? And where do you stand as regards him sticking his nose into British politics?
Well, look, it's entirely up to people, wherever they are, to pontificate on whatever they want to. But we're really concerned here about getting on with governing in this country, which is why we want to get on and talk about the NHS today and waiting lists, because that's
we're going to do that. We're going to do that. But
country.
Meanwhile, Musk sets the agenda for everybody else. And the truth is, Karen, you're all, whatever party you're from, scared stiff of him. Why?
We want to focus on what's going on in the country. We want to.
Yeah, but he sets the agenda.
He said
you can try and talk me down all day on this. You're going to give me an answer on this or not? He will dictate the agenda. You know it, everybody around you knows it, and everybody in every other party knows it. Is he ruling our country?
No. Prime Minister's running the country.
What do you make then of his criticisms of Sir Keir Starmer, which have been regular since Labour took office, and now his criticisms of Jess Phillips and her handling of the grooming gang scandal?
Well, I think Jess Phillips is someone who has spent her career on supporting victims of abuse, both child abuse and adult abuse. We're lucky to have her in government working on that to support the victims. If someone like Elon Musk wants to use his platform to support victims, that would be a good thing. It's a horrific crime. And Jess Phillips, and indeed Keir Starmer himself, when he was DPP, as I think people know, led the assault on the evil perpetrators of this violence, and that's what they will continue to do in government.
Well, a lot of people will differ with what you've said there, because a lot of people don't think that you've done enough, or there is a chance to do something that wasn't under your regime, of course, to actually put your print on this and to actually really do something for subsequent victims, because this just hasn't stopped since the last inquiry 8 years ago. It goes on and it goes on, and the truth is most political parties are scared stiff of this because they don't want to be accused of being racist.
We are scared for the victims. I think Alexis J. report very clearly highlighted actually over decades the extent of abuse and the amount of adults that are living with horrific experience of abuse. Her report catalogued abuse in our major institutions of the country, in religious institutions, in other institutions, and as well as what's happened in various local authorities and in care homes. We wanted the report to happen. It took a long time for that report, as you know, to be written. It cost a lot of money. It is shocking that the previous government didn't implement a single one of those recommendations. We are absolutely getting on with doing that, and the leadership of Keir Starmer and Jess Phillips and others in doing that is exactly the right leadership. We've got exactly the right people able to make sure that we do implement Alexis J. report and support those victims.
Why no national inquiry, though? Why no national inquiry? Why do you not want to expose this? Suella Braverman in 2023, recent history, sets up a grooming gangs task force. In that first year, 500 arrests were made. This isn't something of the past. This isn't something that we can move on from. There are still young girls up and down this country being abused by gangs. Do you not want the streets in this city, in this country, the towns and cities in this country, to be safe for young, vulnerable girls? Why would you not want to know the full extent of this? Do you not want those perpetrators to be brought to justice?
Of course we want the perpetrators to be brought to justice, and we want to support the victims. That's why we wanted to have that report, why it's such an extensive report. It is shocking that the reports, that recommendations weren't implemented, that we coming into government have picked up that report and getting on with implementing those actions. That's what's needed. We know the extent of this. We know that there are 3 million adults already living with the experience themselves, that this has been going on for decades, that it continues to go on, as you say. We need to support the police, we need to support the courts to bring these people to justice. All of that is absolutely front and central what we want to do as a government. And as I said, the leadership of Keir Starmer, who is used to working with the evil perpetrators to get rid of them, and Jess Phillips, having spent her career working to support victims, are exactly the right people to take this forward.
Karen, really important stuff you're going to talk about today. And I was looking at it, and it sounds to me like an appointment revolution within the NHS.
I think that's a good phrase, if I may say so. I might borrow that myself for later. It's absolutely that. We want to make sure that patients are empowered to make sure that they can use, largely through the app, but through other means, their power to make appointments that are convenient for them, rather than tripping up to the GP and perhaps getting referred onto a waiting list. And people are on those lists for a very long time now, and it feels sometimes like a bit of a black hole. That patients can have that choice of providers, which they do now, but they're not exercising that choice, but that they can book appointments that are convenient for them or for their family members, or if they're caring for someone, that make sure that that person can have someone to perhaps go with them to a hospital appointment. So convenience for patients is front and centre of what we want to try and do, but also to make sure that those appointments aren't wasted, that when you have an appointment, it interrupts your day, you have to get to somewhere that might not be very convenient, that appointment is a really valuable one, that you get the intervention and the treatment that you need, and that doesn't always happen. So we want to make sure that every appointment is a really valuable one, and that makes you better, but also progresses you off that waiting list as quickly as possible.
It's really good stuff, and it's good common sense stuff as well. The little thing that just depressed me a bit there was that there is an 18-week referral treatment target. 18 weeks, over 4 months to have your treatment sorted out, and that is quite depressing. I mean, are you hopeful that you can make inroads into that?
We absolutely are. We've committed to making sure that we achieve that within this Parliament, but you're right, it is depressing that we're at such a state that people are waiting 18 months. That was the case under the last Labour government as well. But we want to make sure that we get people seen as quickly as possible for more urgent cases, and particularly on cases like cancer, that target is quicker. But we want to make sure that people know when they're on the list what's happening to them, so that it just doesn't, you just don't get on the list, get referred and not know what's going on. We want trust to be communicated with patients, to give them a likely estimate of that time, and as I said, make sure that every appointment is a valuable one, so people are helped if they're in pain, for example, or if they need to do more exercises, that they're communicated to, that there are things that they can do to help themselves manage their condition even while they're waiting. So an absolute revolution in how we treat patients and support them while they're waiting, but also make sure they get treated more quickly.
Karen's Health Minister, thank you very much indeed for your time coming to us live from central London there. Appreciate it. Thank you.